And turning now to the urgent push to get basketball star Brittney Griner and former Marine Paul Whelan released from Russian custody.
Russia's foreign minister says he's spoken with Secretary of State Antony Blinken about the U.S. proposal for a prisoner swap. ABC's Faith Abube is in Washington with the latest.
Right now, a high-stakes phone call between Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his Russian counterpart.
We had a frank and direct conversation. I pressed the Kremlin to accept the substantial proposal.
It's part of the diplomatic effort to try to bring Americans Brittney Griner and Paul Whelan home from Russian prisons. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov now apparently open to discussing the possible prisoner swap the U.S. offered weeks ago and publicly revealed this week. Secretary Blinken asking to speak with Lavrov about what the U.S. is calling a substantial offer. In response, just yesterday, Lavrov's spokesperson saying the Russian diplomat would, quote, pay attention to this request when time permits. But just hours ago, Lavrov appearing to change his tune, saying he plans to propose a time to discuss the possible prisoner exchange because, quote, it would be interesting to listen to Blinken's proposals.
The irony here is that while the White House went public with their negotiating stance, in an attempt to speed up the negotiation to get Ms. Griner home, I think it may end up delaying her release and backfiring on the White House.
The Biden administration has declined to detail the proposed offer, but ABC News has learned U.S. officials are trying to exchange U.S. prisoner and Russian arms dealer Victor Bout for Griner and Whelan.
I'm cautiously optimistic that the Russians, whatever the offer is, the Russians will take it.
The family of American teacher Mark Fogel, who's serving a 14-year sentence in Russia on drug charges, disappointed he's not part of the current offer.
And he needs to be part of this deal.
And it's still unclear if and when Russia will actually agree to the offer, but the White House says the issue of Americans detained abroad is a priority for President Biden. In Washington, Faith Abube, ABC News.
And prisoner swaps with Russia or other nations to free Americans is a reoccurring event throughout history. We took an in-depth look at a report from the New York Times and have details on some of the most well-known prisoner swaps in our history. In 1985, the United States engaged in what one American official called the biggest spy swap in memory. 4 Eastern Europeans held in the United States for espionage were traded for 25 people imprisoned in East Germany and Poland. Then in 2014, the Taliban released Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, who had been held for 5 years after walking off his army base in Afghanistan. He was later swapped for 5 Taliban detainees. And earlier this year, Kern County native Trevor Reed, a former U.S. Marine held for 2 years in Russia on charges of assault, was released in April in a prisoner swap involving a Russian pilot convicted of cocaine trafficking charges.